Online visibility is a choice. Combine content distribution, SEO, and digital PR to be seen. Watch Adsy Talks for industry insights. Speak your voice with Adsy.
Make your brand discoverable in search, AI, and beyond. With Ahrefs, your marketing platform that gets you seen.
Cool. For 25 years now, search engines like Google have helped us to do one single thing really well. They've helped us to search for stuff. They've helped us to find stuff. But it's really only in the past 12 months that those search engines have started to take care of some of the heavy lifting that came after the search, which was a narrowing down of the options, the reading of the reviews, and the refining of the decisions. And ever so soon, for us, they're going to be doing more of the choosing. And as these search engines, agents, browsers, call them what you will, as they start to do the choosing for us, we are inevitably going to be left with a zero-click landscape, the likes of which you've never before seen. And as we face this landscape, it's all too tempting to kind of think of it as a traffic problem, because we're getting no traffic. But it's not. It's actually an identity problem, because the minute machines start choosing brands on our behalf, because we delegate authority and responsibility to these machines, as soon as this happens, when machines choose brands, the brand doesn't get to be the brand. There's no jazz hands. There's no tap dancing. If your brand could tap dance, it wouldn't be seen. Because the humans who delegate authority and responsibility to these machines don't get to feel the brand, don't see the beautiful images, the 4K video, don't get to immerse themselves in the story and the heritage and the history. Because the minute a machine chooses a brand on behalf of a human, my brand, your brand, any brand, all our brands are immediately collapsed into nothing more than a set of attributes. Specifications, pricing, availability, returns, delivery, options, alternatives. These attributes are all the machine has to make that decision about our brand. And those attributes, as you can see, we're going to need to tighten. So the question that we have to ask today is not this one. It's not how do I rank in a world ruled by machines, but actually the question is that one, how will my brand be interpreted by these machines that can only see my attributes? And at this moment, I just want to pause for a second just to make sure we're all on the same page. And if we're not, you can shout out. But I think we can all agree that the future of e-commerce search is agentic. No shouts. Then we have to agree that the future SERP is a conversation. It has to be a conversation because there is no role for any form of AI agent in blue links. It has to sit inside of a conversation, or in Google's case, that would be AI mode. And if we can agree on that the future of e-commerce, and my goodness, we've only just got used to the conversation, as you've heard, and now we're going to have to deal with these agents. And these agents, the question, how and when are they going to arrive? And the when is easy. They've arrived. And I think I've got time just to tell you a really short story about something that happened earlier this year that absolutely blew my mind. And if you've heard the story, keep quiet. But a few months ago, Macy's in the US secured their business agent through Google Merchant Center. They trained it. They gave it golden questions and answers. They put up those gateways. And crucially, they connected it to their website through the MCP, the Multiple Context Protocol, which is the AI USB, I think we call it. Anyway, they did that. They rolled out their business agent in AI mode. And what happened next was astonishing. Those searchers who ran into Macy's business agent simply claimed and trained through the Merchant Center. They loved it. They didn't double their spend. They didn't treble it. It turns out that everyone who encountered a business agent, on average, spent 4.25 times as much as those who didn't. So the business agents are here. And there is no excuse not to secure them as soon as they become available. So we're talking about two agents. We're talking about business and personal. Business agents, they're here. Personal agents. Slightly different and nuanced story, but in the middle of this adoption, something extraordinary is going to happen to every single one of your brands day by day over the coming months. Let's get into these agents. Now, over here on this side, your business agent. It becomes available in a Merchant Center. Why should I secure it? Because there's no risk. What will it give me? Scale, margin, efficiency, growth. And ultimately, it could be about the survival of your brand. And for a brand, a business agent is a technological solution to the problem they didn't know they had. What's that problem? How can I get my customers to spend 4.25 times as much before they even get to my website? That's the business agents. Adoption will be fast. Personal agents. And they might come in the form of browsers. They might come in the form of extensions. You can build your own in about 15 minutes. Personal agents are a different story because it turns out that we're happy to let a machine search for us, refine results, read reviews, get rid of spam content. We're happy with all of that. But when it comes to deciding for me, deciding for you, deciding how to spend your money, how to represent your taste, your fashion, your style, deciding what you're going to wear at brightonSEO next time. It turns out those decisions take time. And in the middle, as businesses start to adopt their business agents, and we slowly delegate authority and responsibility, we give trust and control to these personal agents, in that gap in the middle, your brands are going to slowly stop being experienced by humans. Why is that? Because I'm delegating to an agent. And your brands, over the next 18 months, day by day, are going to start being interpreted by machines. And that's the reality. It's not crazy stuff. This is the reality. And if your brands are going to be interpreted, those machines, those agents, call them what you will be looking for absolute clarity and consistency across your entire ecosystem. This goes way beyond your website. And what do we need? How can we help with the interpretation? Well, that's why we're here. The next part of this presentation, I'm going to get into the weeds of the interpretation stack that I have tried and tested. This is what I do day in, day out. And then I'm going to take you after that into a wonderful example of how we analyze conversational presence across AI surfaces. So, the stack itself, I call these the keys to the conversation because I'm going to go through these in brief. One of them in particular will help you open citation doorways. There's another that's going to grow your owned and earned presence. And we are talking about conversations here. Those first two, input and novelty, absolutely crucial. This is everything in your ecosystem that is lining itself up to get into the conversations. Threads, so important. If we forget for 1 second this is a conversation, if we think for 1 second we can optimize for a prompt, if we think for 1 second that people go to LLMs, ask a question and they're happy, no, they don't. There's at least 4 to 6 turns at a conversation. So this is a conversation. The threads are important. Entities, we know our brand gets collapsed into attributes. What are entities made of? Attributes. I just noticed the skateboards have gone missing. I was going to steal one. Anyhow, back to the story. And then we have reputation. Our reputation goes well beyond our website. Now, if you've seen me talk before, you know I've got this obsession with fast content, first-hand, real content. And I was having a conversation with somebody this morning talking about the importance of videos, video shorts. And I would put money today, you name the figure, spend 50 quid, get a short of somebody using your product, talking about their experience, make it rough and ready any day. That's going to beat a $50,000 production trying to get that into YouTube. Firsthand, authentic, not scaled, not templated. We had slop before AI. Now we've got AI slop. Let's not go back to the other slop. Social and trusted. Double down on EAT. I'm not going to talk about it because we all know about it, but it's still so important because there is this thing called a visibility paradox, which I'll talk about in a bit. When you position brilliantly for classic search, yeah, page 1, come to the conversation, I'm not in it. And there are reasons for that, and those lie within the visibility paradox. Next, I thank Liz Reed for this. Can't take the credit. She's the one that said, when everyone was panicking about, how do I get in the conversation? First of all, she said, remember, it's a conversation. She also said, optimize for not the first question, but the second and the third. But when she was pushed, what does my content need to be? She said, deep, unique, and original. And original, why? And I was doing some research recently with a couple of guys in the team, and we were looking at running shoes. And we found one site that just stood out, getting citation after citation after citation in every single conversation that we were monitoring. And there's a reason for that. And Liz said this: if Nike, Adidas, On, Reebok, and all the others are describing products in exactly the same way, that's generic. What happens to generic content? It gets collapsed. What happens when it gets collapsed? It loses its identity, and you actually lose your ability to get in the conversation in the first place, let alone get a citation. Originality is everything. And then threads. Threads. This is no longer question and answer. I keep saying this, and I have arguments with people about this all the time. But we really have to optimize for conversations in their entirety, which means when it comes to looking at our visibility, we don't look at our visibility for prompts. We can only look at our visibility for conversations which are made up of an appropriate number, nature, and type of prompt that are calculated to map a conversational space. And if that sounded a little heavy, guys, reach out. Got so much more information on this, and it will save you so much time. Entities, and I will come to the conversational example shortly. Entities, we know our brands are collapsed. They aren't seen by the agents or the browsers. It's only the attributes. So I'm going to say 3 things here. Number 1, new merchant center attributes. Save your product from being collapsed into a pile of generic content. Please save your content. Make it different. Those merchant center attributes were designed specifically to enable your content to last in the conversation, not just appear at the start, but to last throughout it as those humans, or soon their personal agents, start to interrogate in depth, wanting more details about the product that we could never be bothered to put in before because we were relying on good old organic visibility. And I was going to mention 2 other things, product feed availability, and the final one, I cannot remember, but just think attributes. Yeah, it was about the merchant center. Now, reputation. Because our reputation it's not just what we think it is. Agents, call them what you will, don't see the brand, they only see the attributes, and your brand becomes what the ecosystem firmly believes it to be. And that's nothing to do with what you're saying, it's to do with what everybody else is saying about your brand. So then, next question. How big is the gap before your brands stop being experienced and start being interpreted? Well, if you'd ask the big guys, the consultancy businesses, you all know who they are, this is what they say. How long have we got until that point of intersection? Click that, we got 2 years. 2 years. And on that curve, look at that blue curve, going up day by day. Lack of experience for your beautiful brand. More interpretation. Less need for attributes, more need for attributes up there. But if you ask me, it's not going to be 2 years. Why is it going to be 2 years? Perplexity's Comet browser, you can turn that into an agent. You can download Perplexity Computer and build yourself an agent for free, but God's sake, don't do it. Geez, I built an agent in half an hour, and it was incredible. It was finding stuff for me. It was finding discount codes. It was negotiating. This was my own personal agent. And then, a couple of beers, I'm starting to say, yeah, go on, buddy, get it. Hit the button. You do it. Imagine if that was your personal agent and booked you a holiday to Aruba tomorrow. I'd be kind of liking that, but those are the sort of challenges that are holding personal agents back. So it's not going to be 2 years. It's going to be a lot sooner. Let's pause for 10 seconds. Win an Agentic workshop. If you want to take a picture of that. You don't have to, but I'm offering a free Agentic workshop where I will come into your place of work and go through all of this in more in detail. We'll talk about merchant center attributes, which ones are good and which ones aren't, and basically how you can, as we've emerged into the conversation, now we've got to welcome the agents. Okay. What's the one thing I see people obsessing about? The one thing that keeps me up at night, the one thing that caused me to almost have a fallout with one of my colleagues sitting over there, that is prompts. Stop. How can I say it? Stop obsessing about prompts and start listening to conversations. Why stop obsessing about prompts? Even if you knew the prompts I was using today, you ask me tomorrow, I won't have a clue. Not a clue. Value is in the conversation. So just to finish off, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is barbecue. It's that time of year. I'll be cracking open a few beers and having a barbie tonight, I can tell you. But if I was going to optimize a website, last year, back in the day, give me the keywords. Oh, let's build them into groups. Oh, intent. Yeah, let's make sure we're on page 1 for everything. No, you can't. I would prefer to walk into a garden center and listen to the conversations people are actually having about their Barbies. And it turns out, top left, accessories, that's a big old conversation. Turns out, as I was hanging around, loitering, didn't get arrested, but I was listening and loitering. And turns out there's money in accessories. So I thought, wow, let's build out a conversation around accessories. I couldn't fit real prompts on the screen. They were much too long. Don't forget, the average prompt last September was 23 words, closer to 60 now. As Liz Reed also said, when people come to AI mode, not AI overview, when they come to AI mode, they define their entire problem, everything that they want. So we take a conversation, build out prompts using a process called a synthetic prompt protocol, which actually brings in cosine similarity to create the most perfect prompts that simulate conversational spaces. And it's incredible. So let's take a look at the conversations. Let's pick a Weber brand. A Weber brand? I was going to say charcoal brand, a barbecue brand. And somebody shouted out, but I kind of shouted it out. Anyway, Weber. We all love a Weber Barbie. They're awesome, maybe not the best, but I got a couple of them. So if I'm thinking about the optimization of their business, I discover first, what conversations do they need to be in right now as we emerge into summer? There are 8 conversations, 8 of them. How are they doing? We've built out the conversational spaces. Let's take a look. Whoa, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're present in 5 conversations. Not all of them. They're missing. And bang, what's that over there on that side? That's a citation. They don't get many, but there's one thing in common with every one of their citations. Their content goes a little bit deeper. They talk in a little bit more of an informed fashion about their particular type of fuel choices and stuff. Because if you're enjoying a conversation in AI mode, Google doesn't want you to leave. It wants to keep you in there. That citation is earned, not given. So there are 3 conversations they're missing out on in the last 55 seconds. 3. We now know the content we need to shape. And talking of content, what's going on here? On the right there, you can see their top cited directory. This is Weber. How are you getting into the conversation? Well, most of the content's coming from Malaysia, Canada, and Hong Kong. If there is anyone from Weber here, we can have a little chat. We can fix this one. Quite an interesting one. Next view, in the last 30 seconds, who's talking about us? Not just who's talking about us, what are they saying, and in what conversations are they saying it, and where is the sentiment? And as we start to put all this together, we can start to get a really good understanding of how we perform in that conversation before those agents are fully here. And to finish off, 3 things I would do today. Not today, go berserk in the sun. You can leave here after this and go nuts. But what I would do today, if you could secure your business agent, do it with a US presence, 100%. If you can't, build a GPT, link it to your website, kick it, test it. Does your website know enough to hold a conversation? Second one, just follow conversations, don't follow prompts. And then finally, remember that stack. All of those 5 components will ensure that moving forwards, you will be fully interpreted as you stop being experienced. And there's a final thing. Click on that. I don't know what you get, but I'm sure it's cool. Thank you so much, everybody.
Online visibility is a choice. Combine content distribution, SEO, and digital PR to be seen. Watch Adsy Talks for industry insights. Speak your voice with Adsy.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.
Wait, before you go, want to stay on track with where search is heading? Download Search Pulse by Reflect Digital today. It's game-changing.